Chapter 10. Telepathic Volation. I will not attempt to take up your time in endeavoring to convince you of the existence of telepathy. Psychic science has made such wonderful strides of late that not only are its students fully aware of the truth of telepathy, but the general public as well are fully posted on the subject, and generally accept it as an established fact, as ready as they do the X-rays or wireless telegraphy. In fact, the public has always believed in a general way in thought transference, and the recent scientific experiments in telepathy have but served to confirm many people in their beliefs, which have been always entertained by them. The purpose of this lesson, therefore, is not to convince you of the fact that telepathy or thought transference is an existent fact, but to give you an idea of the proper means of using the same to your advantage. Every thought, whether voluntary or involuntary, causes thought waves or vibrations to be projected into space, with vibrations affect the minds of others to a greater or lesser degree. There is a way to project thought vibrations towards another person in a straight line, and thereby attract his attention to you. This plan, compared to the ordinary plan of undirected projection of thought waves, is as a rifle bullet compared to a load of mustard seed shot. The rifle bullet is vastly superior, providing your aim straight. Some masters of mental science have attained a wonderful proficiency in the art of telepathic volation, and some of the results secured by them would be deemed incredible by those not familiar with the laws of directed thought vibration. These results have been accomplished only by years of study, experiment, and leading of a life far different from that of ordinary men. I fancy that very few of my readers would care to pay the price of such attainment. It is well, perhaps, that this power is not easily acquired, as otherwise many might master it and use it for unworthy purposes. I am in the confidence of some of the masters of this wondrous power, and have witnessed many startling exhibitions of thought transference. But as the promise of secrecy was exacted from me by these friends, my lips are of course sealed. Outside of these considerations, I would be of very doubtful wisdom to spread, broadcast information of this nature, which would place within the means of unscrupulous persons the power to work their wills upon their fellow men. Even as it is, fragments of this occult knowledge have leaked out and have been misused. Some have stumbled by accident upon some of the first principles, and hate pursued the matter as far as their limited knowledge would permit, often securing results which both surprised and startled them. However, the purpose of this course of instruction is not to attempt to make its students venerable masters of occult lore, mystics, yogis, or wonder workers, but merely to give them a working knowledge of the laws of personal influence by means of the exercise of the powers of the mind. In short, personal magnetism. This being the case, I shall not dwell upon the wonderful phenomena produced at will by the masters of this science, but will proceed to give you an idea of the first principle and practice of telepathic volation, which will be useful to you in your everyday life. I shall not attempt to carry you further than the mere compelling the attention of a person whom you wish to influence, even if you have hundreds of miles removed from that person. If you wish to pursue this subject further, by reading and experiment, you are at liberty to do so. But I warn you that you will find the attainment of the higher degree of this science no easy task. The primary degrees which I will now teach you are quite easy to attain, when the theory is once understood and need only practice to make perfect. As I have said before, all thoughts produce vibrations which spread like ripples on a pond, produced by the casting in of a pebble. They affect people in all directions. If, however, you throw the pebble along the surface of the water, their ripples will manifest their energy in a direction in which the stone travels. So it is with the vibration of telepathic volation as compared with the vibrations of ordinary thought. For instance, suppose you wish to attract the attention of any person whom you are desirous of interesting in your behalf. You may think earnestly of your desire to interest him, and if you have read something of mental science, you may picture him as being interested in you. By so doing, you will undoubtedly send forth strong thought vibrations in all directions, some of which will reach your man and may affect him to a greater or lesser degree, depending materially upon your degree of positiveness towards him. At the best, he receives no strong impulse and does any other person in any way connected with you. But on the other hand, if you so arrange your mental telepathic apparatus that the strong vibratory impulse travels in a straight line to the desired person, the message will be received far more clearly. The impact of the vibration will be much stronger. In order to produce the best results, you should practice the exercise and the concentration given in this course. You will be able to produce some results without the knowledge of concentration, but with it you have a tenfold power increase. I will assume that you have acquired a working knowledge of concentration and have practiced the exercises. Now for the production of results. You expect to have an interview with a man in a few days in which you hope to interest him in your plans and enterprise. This man is perhaps a stranger to you, or at least is indifferent to you, and there exists no attraction on his part towards you. You know that you will be able to influence him by the methods already explained, but you wish, if possible, to open up direct communication with him before the interview, to gain rapport with him at a distance. You are perfectly right in feeling that your chances of success will be improved by these means. As once you manage to get rapport with a man or woman, you have gained an important point, for that person cannot help feeling an interest in you thereafter, perhaps a strong interest. The best plan for you to pursue under the above circumstance is to establish a mental rapport with your man by means of telepathic volation. Your first step is to get by yourself in some quiet place and either lie down or sit down in an easy chair. Get at ease and relax every muscle. Let go of your body until you are as limp as a damp cloth and are scarcely conscious of having a body. Calm yourself and secure a passive, restful frame of mind. Thinking of nothing outside of yourself and above everything else, shut out all disturbing fear thoughts. You will be able to do this easily by concentration. After you have secured the proper condition, think intently, but calmly, of the other party. Do not frown or clench your fist in an effort to think, but remain passive and relaxed. The effort must be calm, steady mental effort. You will be assisted by the closing of the eyes and the production of a mental image of the person with whom you wish to gain rapport. If you have never seen this person, make the mental figure without distinct features. After a few trials, you will notice that the mental picture seems more real to you. In fact, you realize that in some way you are in mental contact with the other person. When this stage is attained, then you will let your mind dwell on your wishes in regard to this person and imagine him doing as you wish. Your principal mind picture, however, must be that of the man himself, as it holds the connection between you that daydreams of his acting as you wish, merely shaping the lesser thoughtways. These lesser thoughtways are, of course, moving in circles in all directions, but are reaching your man with much greater force than usual. The direct line of communication being open, you will improve greatly by practice and experiment. The best results are obtained when you get the impression of looking through a long tube about 1 foot in diameter, you being at one end and your man at the other. This impression, which can be acquired by concentration, is an indication of perfect rapport, and indicates that you have succeeded in shutting out all outside impressions and have opened up the psychic line of communication. When you attain this stage, you may rest assured that you are making a strong impression, unless the man at the other end of the psychic tube understands the law of mental control and had felt an indication of thought vibrations being directed towards him, in which case he will assume a positive mental state. The more passive the other man may be at the moment, the better will be the results. A little more practice will develop this power, and you will get the impression of the tube more clearly, and will form a much clearer mental picture of the other person. Some little practice may be required before you can obtain this mental impression of the long tube, although some students seem to be able to produce it fairly well at the first trial. You, of course, will have secured the necessary passive condition in yourself. The next step is to produce the mental impression of the tubular connection. This will appear first as a faint, shadowy ring, which by degrees will become more distinct, and will resolve itself into the shape of an open end of a tube. The tube will then lengthen out, and later on you will be able to see clear along its enormous length. You may obtain this result in a few experiments, and on the other hand, may be required to practice it a number of times. It seems to be greatly a matter of obtaining the knack of forming the mental picture. You may obtain good results without the production of the tubular effect, but the best results seem to be obtained by those who can produce this effect. I may as well tell you at this point that you should cultivate the positive mental attitude, as it will enable you to obtain much better results and will prevent you from being influenced by the exercise of volition on the part of others. If you feel an indication of outside influence, you have merely to form the thought recognizing the I am, which will impart a feeling of psychic strength to you at once, and render you impervious to vibrations. By a full appreciation and recognition of the higher self, you will surround yourself with a thought aura which will protect you without any voluntary effort of the mind from outside mental forces. Until you fully acquire this recognition, you merely have to hold the thought for a moment. Assert your real self by the affirmation, I am, accompanied with the mental conception of the real self. A mental image of yourself surrounded by a protecting thought aura which deflects the vibrations of others will, of itself, create an aura which deflects the vibration of others, will of itself create an aura of moderate proportions which will last as long as you hold the thought, and will act as a perfect defense against outside vibrations. You should practice the production of these mental pictures, as the results will be of great value to you. If you ever feel that you wish to be alone and able to think without taking the opinions of others into consideration, just sit down and shut out the vibrations as above stated, and you will be surprised at the clearness of thought which will result. I will tell you in my next lesson about the influence of thought vibrations of others, even when not directed at us, move in widening circles, affecting us all more or less. Nature had provided us with instinctive powers of resistance, but nevertheless we are affected more or less by the thought vibrations of others, and what we think or our opinions are often merely the consensus of the opinions of others with whom we are surrounded. The change of residence by a man may result in his changing his views of religion, politics, ethics, etc., to correspond with the general impression of his new environment, the change being wrought by the effect of the combined thought waves of his new neighbors. A little reflection will remind you of numerous instances of these phenomena. Waves of popular feeling will sweep over a country, arousing nearly everyone, and then will die out as suddenly as they came. A peaceable crowd may be converted into a savage mob, and so on. The emotions and opinions of a man being molded to a greater or lesser degree by the quality of the thought waves reaching him. You will readily see how valuable is the knowledge which will enable you to shut out these outside impressions at will, and allow you to be governed entirely by your own reason, judgment, or intuition. Do not pass by this matter lightly, for the time may come when this knowledge will be of incalculable benefit to you. There are times in which clear thinking is of vital importance to every man. A powerful pressure may be brought onto you to do certain things, and you are undecided just how to act. You need your best thought at this point, and the way to get it is to surround yourself with a protecting thought aura, and while secure in your own mental castle, decide what is the best to be done. Many of your best decisions will be made in this way. By all means, acquire this art. I have digressed somewhat in my desire to instruct you in the means of defense, and we will now resume our discussion of offensive methods. We will suppose that you have followed the instructions regarding the opening up of direct mental connections with your man by means of telepathic volation. When later on you come into his presence, you will find that he seems to evince more interest in you than formerly. He will act as if he is better acquainted with you and has known you for years, and will consequently cause you to feel more at home with him than usual. I do not mean to say that he will, of necessity, do just what you have willed that he should. You have not advanced that far. But he will show a disposition to meet you halfway, and matter will progress much more smoothly than might have been expected. Of course, a repetition of the exercise of telepathic volation will tend to ease up matters still more. Do not be discouraged at seemingly failures, but keep at it, and success will come when you least expect it. In all interviews, maintain a fearless, confident frame of mind, and do not forget to use the power of your eye. The latter often reopens the connection previously established by telepathic volation, reestablishes the rapport conditions, and makes the balance of the interview much more in conformity with your desires. You must be governed by circumstances and must learn to apply the above stated methods to widely differing conditions. The above sample is given you merely as an illustration. Its principles are correct and may be applied with appropriate variations to any case in which you wish to influence another at a distance. Preparatory to a personal interview, the principle is the same in all cases. The student who has gone over these lessons carefully will discover much that will be missed by the casual reader. He will be able to read between the lines. If you are on the right track, much that has been stated will appear plainer to you with each reading. You'll get new ideas every time you take up a lesson and read it. While the casual reader will merely skim over it and not enter into its spirit, the result being that such person will miss the esoteric teaching and will only see the outward or esoteric meaning, and will find the explanation and exercise about as clear as mud. This is just as it is intended. Man findeth that which he seeketh. One man will find coal plainly exposed, whilst others will find the diamond embedded in the earth. But both diamond and coal are composed of the same material. Ask and ye shall receive, seek and ye shall find. In concluding this lesson, let me say that while the powers of the mind, as illustrated in the form set forth in this and preceding lessons, may appear wonderful, the power of thought, as exemplified by what is known as the adductive power of thought, far exceeds the phases of which I have told you. I will endeavor to impart to you an idea of this wonderful subject in our next lesson. End of chapter.